Hi, this is Roisin from Sweet Eve Science, and today I'm bringing you this 3D shadow box mermaid letter as part of the 12x12 cardstock shop design team. Please make sure to check out the design tutorial first. The materials that you'll need for this project are cardstock, mine are from the 12x12 cardstock shop, acetate and mylar, also from 12x12 cardstock shop, shaker mix, a dome, optional some embellishments, foam stickers in different sizes, non-stick scissors, and glues. I will add the link in the description box to all of these items. So first let's start by building our letter. So we need to grab all of the relevant pieces for the main structure of the letter. So the base of the letter or the number will be where the colour of the card is actually white on the side that you can see, facing in the right direction. And then on the back, it's going to be the colour of the cardstock that you use. So let's start by folding our tabs. There will be a score line where you need to fold, which will sometimes be on the edges, but also sometimes in the centre of each of the tab strips. Before I start to stick anything down, I like to line up all of the pieces first to make sure that they're in the right place. This is actually a Cricut Design Space 3D letter, and you can see that there are dots which helpfully help you to know where to line up. Sometimes you will need to fold the tabs back to fit with the curve of the shape of the letter or the number. I like to use Beacon's 3-in-1 glue for this, because it gives you a lot of time to be able to slide the things into place where you need them to be, and it doesn't dry very quickly. You need to place the tabs on the inside of the white part of the letter or the number and apply the glue alongside that tab. Make sure that you line it up, and you can check at the back to make sure it's in the right place. You may need to hold it down. Now, as well as the long tabs, you'll also have some of these smaller tabs, and you will need to apply glue on the back and connect the larger, longer tabs. Make sure you continuously check the back to make sure that it's all in line. And with this glue, you can slide it if you feel that it's slightly out of place. Repeat the process until you've completed the whole frame of your 3D letter or number. Make sure to check that all the tabs are secure and lined up. You may need to hold them in place at different points. Now let's move on to our coral. I'm going to use a pick-me-up to help me pick up these small bits. I will put the link in the description. So now we're just going to match the pieces because we have two corals and one is slightly bigger than the other. Now we're going to use foam stickers to attach the last part to the backing. I'm going to use Barely Arts glue to reinforce this, but this is an optional step. And repeat the process with the second layer on top of the third layer. Now we're going to apply the first layer, and we're going to apply it directly straight onto the second layer using glue and no foam stickers. We're going to need to match the pieces because again some of them are quite similar. And those are our corals done. Now we're going to need to fold all of the tabs back. This is going to allow us to work more easily with the inside of the 3D letter. We're going to grab our main part of our number or our letter and we're going to apply it inside of here. Use your Beacons 3-in-1 glue and just slide it into place. You may need to manipulate it slightly and possibly even trim to get it inside. Make sure that you secure any loose tabs that may come apart as you're doing this process. Now we're going to grab all of the parts of our shadow box layers and just arrange them to work out which goes where. And then once you're happy, we're going to use our foam stickers to give us some height on each layer. Repeat the process for the other layers. If you're going to be sticking down onto glitter cardstock, I would highly suggest using hot glue. Now we're going to use foam stickers to give us some height inside of the 3D letter. I would suggest stacking them on top of one another to give you a good height. I use 4 foam stickers high on this one. Now place the shadow elements inside of the letter. Again, you may need to manipulate it in order to get it inside. At this point, I would suggest just standing it up to make sure that it can stand up alone. And then you know you're on the right track. Now if you look at these tabs, you can see that they're quite thick. And the frame border that we have is quite thin. And if we put the border on top now, you would be able to see the tabs. So what we're going to do is go around and very carefully trim the tabs. You want to make sure that you still have enough to connect the frame and the acetate to the 3D letter. Now we're going to grab our frames. We put one aside for later. And this is going to go on top of these tabs and hold everything all together. Just make sure that there's no overlap from any of the tabs before you start to stick down. And then just glue the tabs using Beacons 3-in-1 glue. You're going to need to do quite a lot of adjusting here to be able to get it to sit right. And you may find that you need to go back in and trim some of the tabs down a little bit more. I also like to use my weeding tool to just push things into place. And most importantly with this, just take your time, as this is the main part of your letter and it's really important that it looks neat and it's secure. Glue any bits that are not thoroughly stuck down. And that's our main letter shadow box done. Now we're going to attach this beautiful mylar. If you can't get hold of this mylar, you can also use clear acetate. And I'm just going to show you how we're going to build this up. We're going to put the shadow part and then on top the last frame. So to attach the mylar, we're just going to use some Beacons 3-in-1 glue. I really love the effect that this mylar gives. It kind of reminds me of a glass bottom boat. Now we're going to add the main part of our front frame to our shadow. I'm going to do this using Barely Arts glue. Just apply small dots and that will help make sure you have the right amount of adhesive. Then we're going to apply this to the main part of the letter using Beacon's 3-in-1 glue. And that's the 3D letter done. Now it's just to build the rest of the elements to put them on top. So let's do our shaker shell. Start by lining all of the pieces up and apply the first layer to the second layer using Beacon's 3-in-1 glue. Now we're going to apply the second layer to the third layer using foam stickers. Trim down if required. And because this is glitter card, I'm using hot glue. Repeat the process for the next few layers. And that's our shell done. Now let's work on the shaker. So you're going to take your dome and then you're going to trim off this whole piece. You don't need any special type of scissors for this, it's quite easy to do. Don't be scared, just cut along it, it will break. And the shaker is going to sit on top of this wonderful scaled embossed card, and then you get the shaker frame that goes on top. So now let's add in our shaker mix. I'm just going to scoop it up here. Now apply your Beacon's 3-in-1 glue around the edge. I wouldn't suggest using hot glue for this because it will dry way too quickly. And then just pop your cover on the back. Make sure you give it enough time to dry because it will take a while. You can hold it in place. Look at this, isn't it just the prettiest? Now you will see that there's just a little bit from where you cut the hole, and you want to make sure that that's facing down, just so it's less visible. And you're going to hot glue the shell directly to the shaker. Now grab your shaker frame, and where you see that little bit where the hole was, you can put glue, and then you can stick the frame on top of that part for it to connect. I actually decided at the end to remove this because I felt that the proportions weren't quite right with the shell. But you can keep it on if you want to, or make your shell just slightly bigger. And that's your shell shaker done. Now let's move on to the mermaid tail. Now I just wanted to show you this Mylar close up. It is so gorgeous. It was the first thing I saw from 12 by 12 cardstock shop, and I knew I had to try it out. Now we're going to apply a small amount of glue just at the top and the bottom. Just look how pretty this is. And then we're going to use foam stickers to add some dimension. And that's our mermaid tail done. Now let's move on to the text. Now we're just going to use the Barely Arts glue to apply the first, second and third layer. I'm not going to use any foam stickers on this because I actually do want it to have more of a flat dimension, and I want the other elements to pop out a bit more. For the backing layer, I am going to use some foam stickers. Trim if required. And that's our text done. Now let's do our bubbles. So match your bubbles with the acetate layer. And then we're going to use a small amount of Barely Arts glue to connect all of the bubbles to the acetate. And that's our bubbles done. What I will say is make sure that you let this dry. And just make sure that you're 100% happy with the structure of the letter before you start to build. And what I like to do first is just position everything to make sure that I'm happy with how it looks before I start to connect them. So now I'm going to connect the tail using foam stickers and hot glue. Glue the first coral down directly onto the letter using hot glue. Then I'm going to grab the text and I'm going to use hot glue to attach it to the tail. Now attach the second coral in the same way. For the shell, you're going to need to use some foam stickers to make it stick out and sit above the coral that you've just stuck down. Hot glue down. Now we're going to add our bubbles. I used Barely Arts glue, but afterwards I actually had to use some hot glue because it did fall off. Now this step is optional, but there are these absolutely gorgeous bubble embellishments that go perfectly with a mermaid theme. So I'm just going to adorn my whole 3D letter with the different sizes of these bubbles in different places. It's just going to give it a bit of a special touch. I do this using my Barely Arts glue and my pick-me-up. And that's the 3D letter done. Please be sure to check out the 12x12 cardstock shop, where I got all of the cardstock and acetate and mylar that I used for this project. The link to their website is in my description below. Make sure to follow them and me on Instagram and TikTok. If you found this helpful, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. And thanks for watching. Take care and bye.